it going to rain?
Well, I don't know. The weather forecast has been wrong the whole weekend, hasn't it?
So, what's it?
Well, you know what? It's the same for everybody, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's going to do what it's going to do.
Exactly. That's it.
And then you can steam through the pack. All right, good. How long have I got? I'll just see if I can. Minute to the anthem, Max. All feeling good?
Not bad, not bad. I mean, maybe a bit of rain around, but we'll see. Should be okay.
All right, good stuff. Have a great race. My old boss there, Flavio Briatore.
What is up, motherfuckers
How are you doing?
and party people?
Well.
How the fuck are y'all doing today?
Person asked me today.
So, you ready?
We got
Super race.
a day of racing today.
Max, I think it's going to be
Got F1 right now, and then later it will not be one big, long, continuous live stream. But later we have the Cup race.
your man Fernando. He's gonna
And we got IndyCar, if that's what makes you jiggle your dick, you know? Take this off.
Yes, he met the problem with the gravel, and the car is very good.
good stuff. Good to see you. I've got to get out because I'm getting some count in my ear, and it's 4 to go to the national anthem. So time for me to run up to the commentary box.
Okay, so looking at the radar.
Two beautiful performances there. Somewhat ironic that Spanish is the second most spoken language in the world, and yet one of just 4 countries not to have words with their national anthem. But it was beautiful nevertheless. 2 national anthems then, Nico, catching the drivers out. They thought they were done after one. And that would be reinstated.
They all had a bit of a panic moment there because they all disappeared and had to run back.
Tell you what, it is wonderful to see the brothers in arms, Fernando Alonso and Carlos Sainz, arm in arm at the front of the grid there, sharing such a passion for this sport with their fans. And it's packed grandstands, Naomi. What an atmosphere here.
Incredible atmosphere, and it was just great to see such emotion. You can see how much this means to the people of Spain and how much this will mean for the Spanish drivers, because having all these people here, granted some of them have come from outside of Spain, there's a lot of support for them here.
So yeah, what is up, motherfuckers and party people? How's everybody doing today? We got F1 Spain today. Just checked the weather radar. It says it's supposed to rain during the entirety of the race. Doesn't say it's supposed to be super hard of rain, but rain nonetheless.
Is watching him, and there's a lot of expectation.
There's a huge amount of hype around Fernando Alonso, and it's his teammate, though, who actually out-qualified him yesterday. A much-needed boost for Lance Stroll after a difficult weekend in Monaco. Monaco.
Yeah, absolutely. Lance had a bit of a difficult time lately, so it was really nice to see him come back yesterday with a great performance. I mean, P5 on the grid.
Yeah, we got F1 today.
On the podium, which is his goal for today. So we wish him the best there, of course. But he needs to look in his rear view mirrors because Alonso is going to be coming quickly.
Absolutely. Now, overtaking is difficult here, Naomi. Not impossible. It's a very different configuration to Monaco. So just explain to us where their opportunities are.
There's a couple of opportunities on this track, down into turn 1, down into turn 4 and 5 as well. There are a couple of opportunities, but I'm not sure if the overtaking is going to be done on track today, because if you look above us, there is a cloud looming, and it might be about who reacts the quickest, who makes the best decision, and who's quick on their feet to make the right call.
I'm also looking forward to Alonso coming up to Stroll. What does the team do? Do they tell Lance, move over, Alonso's quicker, or do they let them race? That's going to be an interesting one.
That is a fascinating one, because you like the romantic notion of the home hero coming through, but not necessarily at the expense of Lance, who's obviously, well, in need of a strong weekend. He started the season so incredibly well, coming back from that injury in Bahrain. Had a bit of a dip, and now coming good again, it seems.
No, but more than that, he's the son of the boss.
Well, there is that. There is that.
So do they tell the son of the boss to move aside or not? That could be an interesting one to watch.
Straight to the point as ever, Nico. What about George Russell? What can he hope for today, Naomi?
Well, I actually just had a word with him on just before the anthem, and he said that he was looking for grip on the outside line, and he said there wasn't any, so that's why he ended up in the ground.
There's
But he's not worried.
Fernando.
The car seems fine, they don't have any issues.
Okay, well, it is so tight behind Max Verstappen. Expect plenty of drama here in Barcelona. Don't go anywhere, because up next, we've got the Spanish Grand Prix.
You've got Verizon Home Internet. Now, we're making it even easier for you to save more with Mobile Plus Home Loyalty Discount. Fios customers can get our best price for one line on unlimited welcome. Just $30 for one line per month.
Yo, there's actually a commercial break in an F1 broadcast.
So gain more, watch more.
I mean, it's only during pre-race, but
Add Verizon Wireless and add up your savings. Only on Verizon.
People in New York get their Kia from Matthews than from any other dealer? It comes down to trust, with no pressure salespeople, transparent pricing, and a commitment to customer service that goes back 50 years. And Matthews Buying Power brings you the best selection of Kias in upstate New York. Visit Matthews Kia for New York locations and MatthewsKia.com.
She is just next level. There is a new bantamweight contender. It's Irene Aldana. She believes this is her night. Two of the very best hoping to be as the #1 contender.
FX is Sunday. All new Wednesdays at 10 on FXX. Stream on Hulu.
Formula One coverage on ESPN is presented by Mercedes-Benz.
Brand new for 2023, Sky Q, Sky Glass and Sky Stream customers will be able to jump on board with any of the 20 Formula One drivers on this year's grid. Watch every race, sprint, qualifying and practice session this season from your favourite driver's perspective and listen in on Team Radio.
We want the same issue again. Copy.
To get started, all you need to do is download the Sky Sports app to your phone or tablet device, which you can do by scanning this QR code. Log in once with your Sky ID and head to the Sky Sports F1 channel to choose your driver. Sky Glass, Sky Stream and Sky Q customers, you can also access this experience via the red button on your remote control. Once you're there, you'll also find our new Battle channel. Where we'll be showing you the on-track battles taking place up and down the field that might not be shown on the main feed. Be sure to download the app or hit your red button to experience even more action this weekend.
Welcome along to Barcelona.
America is number one. You're right. You're right, Matt. You're very right. America is number one, and then Canada, and then probably Sweden, and then after that, I'd say probably what's after Sweden? Finland? Iceland? You're at work? How's work, Matthew? Germany? Germany's after Sweden?
Here we go then. Welcome to Catalonia. Welcome to Spain.
Spain's probably like, where's Spain on the list?
Spanish Grand Prix, the 33rd to take place.
Work is boring. You know what else is boring? F1, but I still watch it.
It's the fourth longest uninterrupted run on the F1 calendar for any racetrack that we've ever had in the World Championship. Here's how the calendar looks in 2023. This is round 8, and this is Spain.
You know what, Matt? When you become a cop, work will not be boring anymore. Enjoy racing, I shall.
They're fast, and for some they were flat during qualifying. 2.89 miles long, 14 turns, 6 to the left and 8 to the right. The 613 metres from pole position down to your braking point at turn 1. Plenty of chances for overtaking on the opening lap. Let's look at turn 1, shall we? Sebastian Vettel getting onto the dirt as he tries to get past Valtteri Bottas and succeeded doing so in 2017. Where else can we get drama?
Peace out, bro. Love you. Love you too, Matt.
Hamilton, do you remember this? On the grass, 2 championship contenders, 2 teams.
Have a good work.
Crashing out of the race on the very first lap. And then fast forward to the braking points after turn 10, 11 and 12. This is Barrichello and Ralf Schumacher and Michael Schumacher in the year 2000. And what a duel that was. Fantastic action over the years of this circuit. Let's hope we get some more today. 3 tyre compounds for you. On the dry tyres, C3, C2 and C1. But the intermediates and the wets are standing by. A risk of rain officially 40%. The clouds are starting to gather around this circuit. The rain is bubbling up and it could be a wet one at times. Let's go from the clouds then and look at the starting grid. We've got 2 starting in the pit lane. Logan Sargent and Charles Leclerc. First time ever he started in the pit lane in Formula 1. Ahead of these 2, Kevin Magnussen and Alex Albon officially on the back row for today. And ahead of these, Valtteri Bottas. First time he started lower than 7 since his rookie season here in 2013. Yuki Tsunoda starts 15th. And then Nick de Vries out-qualifies his AlphaTauri teammate for the 2nd time this season. Zhou Guanyu starts 13th. George Russell, disappointing qualifying for him, has Sergio Perez for company. What can those 2 do to salvage their races from outside the top 10? Well, Pierre Gasly dropped 6 places because of 2 penalties, and Oscar Piastri in Q3 for the 3rd time.
Fernando Alonso starting 8th.
Worst good spot of the season. Nico Hulkenberg 7th though for Haas. Esteban Ocon top 6 on the grid for the 2nd week running, and he's got Lance Stroll for company, his best start of the year. Lewis Hamilton is 2nd, top 4 start of the season. Lando Norris, McLaren's highest start here since 2011. Then it's Carlos Sainz, the first ever front row in the Spanish Grand Prix for him, and Max Verstappen, the 4th pole position of the season. Welcome along to you all, wherever you're watching in the world. Welcome to our viewers on Sky Sports main event who have just joined us. And Martin, I think this afternoon, behind Max Verstappen, this is a wide open race.
It is. Verstappen is on medium compound tyres on pole position. An outlier, it must be said. He goes all the way down to Gasly in 10th. They're on the soft compound tyres. They'll be used tyres though, as against the days of just cruising through on a one-stop easily are over. But we'll see. I mean, the Red Bull is handling so beautifully. They might be able to get it through on a medium and hard compound.
So, do you back off a little bit in the final 2 corners, preserve your tyres, indulge in a bit of tyre management? If you're on a 2-stopper, that might have to be the way you go. But if you're going for a 3-stopper, you can afford to push that little bit harder, work the tyres more, be more aggressive. But the trouble with a 3-stopper here, Martin, is that you might just pick yourself into a spot of bother, get into a little bit of trouble. There'll be DRS.
Wait, are they doing the formation lap right now or what?
So it's a real...
Yeah, it's just the formation lap.
For the strategists on the pit wall today, 3-stop versus 2-stop. We're going to see a mixture of stops here as the cars head off from the formation lap. And when we get a mixture of stops, that's when we get overtaking because the speed differences are there to be seen.
Yeah, it's going to be a long, hard fight down to
How much is
turn
live
one.
timing and
Lopez, for
scoring?
example, gets a double slipstream. So
Subscribe
it's such a
now.
long run down there that often if you're plowing a hole in the air for everybody else, you can be susceptible. So what's going to be interesting is the used soft.
That's insane.
Soft tires versus the
See, on NASCAR.com, you can get this shit for free.
race down to
Because
the
they
first
actually
corner.
care about their fans.
So this, the formation lap then, the lap to the grid, featuring 18 drivers. Charles Leclerc and Logan Sargent will start from the pit lane and will come out of the garage in a few moments' time to trundle down to the end. We feature 7 different constructors, 7 different teams in the top 7 on the grid. It's the first time we've had that since Belgium in 2021, which was a really wet afternoon, and it wasn't really a race whatsoever. These are the possible race strategies.
Oh yeah, Belgium 2021. That was like the worst race ever. It wasn't even a race. It was one lap. That was ran under the yellow.
That means it's clouding over. How will that affect the strategies, I wonder? If you want to run on board with any of the drivers during this race and listening to their team radios, you can. We've got all 20 for you. Get started. You need the Sky Sports app. Download it to your phone or your tablet device. Log in with your Sky ID. Head to the Sky
Yeah,
Sports app.
Charles Leclerc.
If you're a Sky
I've never seen this before. A pit road start.
access this via your remote control.
2 drivers will start from the pit lane, which somewhat confuses that process for the teams. They don't just have a clean run to the end of the lane. It's Logan Sargent for Williams and Charles Leclerc for Ferrari, having made changes under parc fermé conditions overnight and this morning. Leclerc was so unhappy with his handling that elected to start in the pit lane. And
All right, fuckers.
at the back of the car.
Let's get this race started, bitch.
So they'll go down to the end of the pit lane, and then when the pack has cleared the end of the pit lane, they will be released into the race. So what would you do if you're Ferrari? Would you run Leclerc short and fast, and then put him out on hard tyres to the end of the race?
Well, they've got hard tyre to start this race, so maybe anticipating a safety car. I think there's about a 40% chance of that here. Trying to go long, get some track position. Logan Sargent's gone on the medium tyre. It's all going to be about tyres here because it's an aggressive track. It works those tyres. Management will be key, but also pace too. Sergio Perez slotting into 11th on the grid. He is not out of the shot of getting a podium here today. Neither is Fernando Alonso.
Yo, it's
starting
F1.
Hamilton.
It's
And,
just
Ocon
stupid
with a bit of
shit.
pace. Carlos Sainz
Yeah, these
too.
guys gotta
It
start
all
from
will be
pit
scrappy.
road. That's gotta
The podium
suck.
races come the end. McLaren say points
All right,
is what
all
we're after.
right. This is the only interesting part of the race. This is the only interesting part of the race right here. Is when they start. Green is when they start, because this is where all hell could break loose. Oh my God, Carlos Sainz wants to lead. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, but Verstappen prevails. Oh my God, that guy went off track. I think that's Nick DeVries. Oh my God. Yeah, the grid literally looks so much shorter with just -2 cars.
Yeah, Lando Norris will be disappointed in himself that he didn't go hard right and just close Lewis Hamilton off.
I've got damage, says Lando Norris. I've got damage. That's how all the drivers talk. I've appeared to have some damage. It appears as such that I have damage to my vehicle.
Possible start for him. It's the best possible start for Max Verstappen. And Carlos Sainz holding on to that second place. Here comes Sergio Perez down the inside, looking to make a move on Oscar Piastri. Nothing doing at turn 10 for this moment.
Yeah, they're going to put a new front wing on Lando Norris's McLaren. So they'll be furiously working out the strategy, and then take an extra 12 to 14 seconds to do that.
Oh, absolute disappointment for Lando Norris. The worst possible opening lap for him. He has gone right down to the bottom of the pack now as he's into the pits. Max Verstappen leads from Carlos Sainz. Here comes Sergio Perez again on Oscar Piastri. This time he gets the move done. Tsunoda just fends off the Haas of Kevin Magnussen behind him. Perez has made up a place on those medium compound tyres, and confirmation there of a new front wing for Lando Norris, and hard tyres going on, but is that car coming out? Eventually he gets going.
like he had a box full of neutrals there, didn't he? He just couldn't get it into first gear. Oh dear, that's an awful start to Lando Norris's afternoon after such a tremendous qualifying performance.
Now Fernando Alonso's fending it off. George Russell here. Alonso currently in 6th place. Russell we saw going off the track, but he has made up places after starting 12th on the grid. Good old tussle going on between those two. Out in front, Carlos Sainz is absolutely keeping pace with Max Verstappen at the moment. Verstappen on the medium tyre, Sainz on the soft compound tyre, but out in front, Verstappen then from Sainz, and then Lance Stroll, perfect start for him, making up a place on Lewis Hamilton, making up another place as well on Lando Norris, who had to pit eventually, and Verstappen now, his gap between himself and Carlos Sainz, 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, Pierre Gasly down from 10th to 15th, that's the penalised 10th. So a pretty miserable first lap, he's up to 14th now with Norris pitting.
Could have been the best start of the season for Pierre Gasly. Got a couple of penalties yesterday, dropped him down 6 places, and he's continuing to tumble down the charts. And now we have DRS.
It's not raining right now in
DRS
Barcelona.
down the main straight, which could be worse.
I think it's supposed to.
Miles an hour of extra speed down the straight to try and get some overtaking done. You've got to be within a second of the car in front to get that advantage. Let's have a look at the start here, and it was a good getaway.
Literally any minute it's supposed to start raining at the track.
Yeah, I was looking at our commentary box window, 18 actually left as one really. But Verstappen had the inside line, braved it out, and behind, Hamilton has already passed Norris, but then they touch on the apex of turn 2.
That was great racing between the two former teammates, Verstappen and Sainz. But Lewis Hamilton and Norris getting too close together and wrecking the front wing of that McLaren. That's where you can see the end plates disappearing up into the distance.
Quite a chunk of carbon fibre as well. It landed back in the middle of the pack.
This is the second time in a row that Lando Norris has dropped 3 positions on the opening lap.
This is where Lando should have been hard right and defended the inside line. That's what's cost him.
And the Ferrari slows, that causes Hamilton to slow, and then Norris doesn't react soon enough.
Can you show the live feed, not these replays? I haven't seen the live feed in over a minute.
But then he realised he has to get out of that slipstream because he was heading towards the rear wing of the Red Bull. Brilliant racing between the two here, and Verstappen defensively kept his elbows out
and just kept him within track limits.
Oh my god, they're showing so many replays. I literally have not seen the live feed in over a minute.
Into the left-hander, into that hairpin where he went off into the ground in qualifying yesterday. Much better trip on the track for him
there we
on
go.
that occasion. 1.8 seconds the lead for Verstappen from Sainz. Let's head to Sky Race Control now.
Nico Hulkenberg running in 8th.
Yeah,
America. Fuck yeah.
We came to those replays of Lando Norris. I think you're absolutely right in that the Ferrari
I think I saw a raindrop.
Verstappen just slowed it down a bit too much, trying to desperately stay on the track, and it caused a chain reaction. That's what caught Lando out. So Lewis reporting the car feels okay, and you can clearly see on the images that it was the front wing of Lando just touching that left rear of Hamilton. So no damage to Hamilton's car, but poor Lando Norris totally got caught out.
I just want to talk about George Russell in a moment. Stay with us, Anne, as we see down the main straight here. Nico Hulkenberg getting passed by Zhou Guanyu, and that shows the pace and the extra pace of that DRS. And Hulkenberg's now got Sergio Perez right on his tail around turn 3. Perez just has to back out of that for a moment. But race control have noted George Russell, for leaving the track and gaining an advantage, he picked up at 5 places on that opening lap. I don't know if you were riding on board with him or not.
I was.
What caused him to leave the track?
Well, it was a 3-way fight into turn 1. George on the outside.
Lando Norris from last place just set down the fastest lap.
He touched him, but he took extra precaution to run out wide.
That extra point would not count though unless he gets into the top 10. So
I don't think he would have made 3 into 1. Wouldn't have gone basically. I think George read it right. But he made up most of his positions properly off the line. He totally blasted his way past Perez, who started on the mediums, because George is on the softs. And he had that momentum running down to the first corner, so that's where he overtook the majority of cars.
But if he went down
have a look back,
the full length of the penalty lane and to the left of the bollard, that's all he applies to do, isn't it? I'm on it. I'll be back.
says the new Terminator in the start commentary box. We're on the main straight at the moment, and we are watching Sergio Perez gaining on Nico Hulkenberg. He's got a very long straight to try and get an overtake down here, and he's going to go swooping down the inside on Nico Hulkenberg and put himself up into 9th place, clear the Haas with ease.
Yeah, well, we know how strong the Red Bull is with the DRS. It's worth about 20 kilometres per hour down that straight when the rear wing is open. What's that, 15 miles an hour? Plus the Red Bull effect there, but Nico Hulkenberg stayed on the racing line but didn't make it too difficult. What's the point in losing time or getting your tyres dirty in an impossible fight with the Red Bull right now when you're in the top 10 in a Haas?
So Lando Norris has been into the pits, but Valtteri Bottas is going to an early pit stop as well. And has gone back out again on the hard compound tyre. Out in front, Carlos Sainz is not exactly in a race with Max Verstappen. Pretty soon you won't even be able to see Max Verstappen because the gap is edging up towards 3 seconds. Lance Stroll is holding 3rd place from Lewis Hamilton, Esteban Ocon, and then Fernando Alonso. We've got George Russell right behind him, the riding forward with Russell now.
So Charles Leclerc then is up to 17 on the hard compound tyres, and what he needs to somehow do is pick those off quite quickly, some of the second half of the field, and get through there. He's quite close to Alex Albon, who's on used soft tyres, but he needs to get through this pack quickly.
Fernando Alonso's been overtaken by the Mercedes. That got a ripple of applause, and the rest of the crowd put their hands firmly underneath their legs and kept them there. Russell up to 6th, Fernando Alonso 7th. That Mercedes had some good straight line speed with the DRS, and Russell now can try and pull away a little bit as we watch Yuki Tsunoda, Hulkenberg.
I don't know when it's going to start raining, though, because it literally says it, like, when I last checked the radar, it says it's, like, on the edge of the racetrack. So
McLaren found themselves in a sweet spot on this track that suited their car, temperature suited their car, 1 lap effort, and so I think that it sort of was a bit of a false dawn for them, but they're clearly improving the car.
What we'll be hoping for is a bit more clouds to come and envelop itself over the track. The more the track temperature drops, the better the McLaren seems to respond to it. They don't necessarily have warm-up issues, and it rather helps their tyres to have a cooler track temperature. It rather hinders them when the track temperature is a little bit warmer. This is Charles Leclerc. The car in front of him was Alex Albon, and he's got himself a little overtake there. Up in the 16th place he goes as we look now to Lance Stroll. We saw Fernando Alonso getting passed by Mercedes, and we're seeing Lance Stroll getting passed by Mercedes. That was really, really tight. Hamilton got the move done in the end. This is Oscar Piastri on Nico Hulkenberg. Can he make it stick? Just really unsteady, under braking, going into that first corner, but well done Oscar Piastri. He's up into 11th.
We're seeing overtakes, aren't we? Yeah. I know it's DRS assisted, but they are able to follow close enough through the last 2 fast corners and get the job done at the end of the straight.
Out in front, the gap continues to get ever larger, nudging towards 4 seconds now. Verstappen and Sainz. I don't think there was anyone confident of racing Max Verstappen today with the conversations that we were having, apart from maybe Sergio Perez, who's doing his damnedest to get a little bit further up the path, but at least he's got the same car as his teammate.
Leclerc's cleared Albon now, up into 16th, homing in on Nick de Vries next up. And the problem with what we call field spread, Sergio Perez, who obviously had a miserable qualifying again for the 2nd time in 2 weekends, but he's now over half a pit stop behind Verstappen now in the lead. He was running 9th, it was all going terribly well, but you just lose so much so early.
Well, Joe Granew's got DRS as he tries to get Fernando Alonso. Sergio Perez has got DRS too. We know how powerful that DRS is on the Red Bull. Has he got enough straight to go round the outside of the Alfa Romeo? Yes, he has. Sergio Perez up into 8th place. And whilst he does that, the stewards have decided no further investigation necessary. George Russell for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. So Russell, who's now passed Fernando Alonso, cannot worry about any steward interference.
Speak on plan A for now. You're lucky. Basic one.
So he's happy, managing his tyres and racing for 2nd place, they say today in Ferrari.
Happy engineer, happy driver, plan A sticks. This is going to be a very good race between the Ferraris up front and the Mercedes, because it seems to me Aston Martin at this phase of the Grand Prix anyway just do not have especially good race pace.
It seems that they, certainly in the straight line, they're a bit vulnerable. Is the counter to that, are Aston Martin looking at maybe a two-stop race, managing tyres more? Mercedes maybe going to a more aggressive three-stop strategy? Well, it's worked well in the past when Lewis Hamilton won here.
So you've got to be on the right track at the right time, as we always say, and that includes, you know, there's no point in dragging a set of tyres around there that will not yield you any grip. There's too many fast corners. But yeah, and I think what's also happening is if you've got a tyre advantage over the driver in front, you will pass him down into turn 1. You're out of turn 12 with better traction. Through 13 and 14, you could stay close enough and get the job done a few hundred metres later.
We saw Valtteri Bottas in for an early pit stop. His teammate Joe Guan Yu's also coming early, as has Nico Hülkenberg. I wonder if that's an indication that the soft tyres on the Alfa Romeo and the Haas just weren't lasting.
It's highly possible, but they know they're fighting each other for the scraps on the table, really, don't they, at World Championship points? And so they tend to react to each other. Those teams, they know who they're racing. Come the end of this Grand Prix in 56 laps time, they know exactly who they're really racing, and that's why they start reacting. Even if it doesn't make a lot of sense to us sometimes.
George Russell is getting a little bit closer now to Esteban Ocon. Russell, who led 4 laps of the race here last year. He's starting to make a few more moves as we watch Pierre Gasly make this move on Kevin Magnussen. Gasly popping himself up into 12th place, I should say, as he tries to repair the damage from the opening lap of this race, up into 11th for Pierre Gasly. As we head to Sky, I'll do it 2 seconds, because George Russell is close enough here to Esteban Ocon to maybe make a lunge into turn 1. Look how he's gaining on the Alpine. Down the inside goes George Russell. Ocon, whether he knew he was coming or not, would have seen him in his mirrors at the last moment and decided at that stage there was no point in defending. Russell is up to 5th. Started 12th in this race, making some major moves here.
Yeah.
Sorry, Martin.
Yeah, Mercedes have a great race car, as we were saying, and well, George went off on the going to the grid and went off on the first lap, but that was a cracking move on the brakes. His brakes are clearly working very nice. Anthony, over to you.
Yeah, so as promised, I did look back at the move with George Russell. I can see why they haven't given him a penalty, because he was fighting Piastri basically on the outside of turn 1, and it was the Haas in between the two of them. The Haas overtook Piastri as well around the outside, but George, going off track, didn't gain a physical advantage in position. He gained a little bit of distance between himself and Piastri, but the move was actually done before he got to the apex at turn 1. So, yeah, pretty tight. George has got away with it, but I understand the steward's decision on that one.
Joe Guan Yu, we saw coming into the pits. He was trying the undercut on Yuki Tsunoda. And, well, all the positions changing here. Around the outside goes Nico Hülkenberg, who's also been into the pits with some new tyres. By the time that Yuki Tsunoda and AlphaTauri responded, well, there were a couple of cars racing against him with nice warm sets of tyres. Hülkenberg took advantage, and now Joe Guan Yu has as well.
Yeah, the undercut will be very powerful here. Put a new set of tyres on, 70 degrees out of the blankets. You've got to warm them up a little bit on your way round, but you will have so much more grip than your rivals if they stay out a lap or 2 more.
Hülkenberg, by the way, just says the new fastest lap of the race. Shows you the benefit of having that fresh set of boots on. If you're someone like Fernando Alonso at 7th at the moment,
I guess it's just never going to start raining there, because it just keeps saying it's going to start raining like any second. But
it's like you're driving in a different category, a different racing car, because everything the car does is better. Acceleration, braking, turning, high speed, just does everything better and faster. Frightens you a lot less, seems a lot easier, and the stopwatch gives you an incredible time.
He's also got Sergio Perez coming up behind him as well. You lose time trying to defend your position, so it's now the optimum time to get rid of those soft compound tyres. We will find out in a moment. George Russell is on the charge, trying to get a bit closer to Lance Stroll, who was at the podium places for a brief moment, was overtaken by Lewis Hamilton, who's just bit by bit making a move now on Carlos Sainz. Sainz is happy with the way his race is going, but Hamilton is right there with him. Meanwhile, the other Ferrari of Charles Leclerc started on the hard compound tyre, has seen an awful lot pit ahead of him. It's like Moses in the Red Sea. The gap is just opening for him now to drive into some nice clean air.
Indeed. So there'll be a bit of time management going on. So it's shaping up as we thought, really. It's sort of Class B.
And switch position Sierra confirm and status 4. Exit good. Okay, that's good. You need to pick up the pace.
It's a Mercedes, are faster than we thought they would be, but
He's happy with the way it's going. On the pit wall, they can see all the data, and there might have been an ouch moment where we just need to be a bit faster here.
yeah, I mean, you've got, starting to say, you've got Max Verstappen out front, but kind of like, come on guys, if I go any slower, I'll have to stop. And then the other Grand Prix, which is shaping up very nicely indeed.
Yeah, one man in a race all by himself, and the other 19 drivers all in quite the scrap here. As into the pits then comes the Alpine of Esteban Ocon. He's decided now, with the pit lane window open, the pit stop window open, I should say, to get rid of these soft compound tyres. Now's a good time to try and see what I can do with the undercut, to either get a bit closer to George Russell or reserve myself against Fernando Alonso. Neat stop as well, 2.3 seconds stationary for the Alpine.
And I can hear some people at home saying, well, if it's so important to get in before all the others, pit really early and, you know, and keep your track position, but that will almost certainly guarantee you a stop towards the end of the race.
Out comes Ocon, behind him is Nico Hülkenberg, and still behind him, but only just as Nico Hülkenberg. And now Yuki Tsunoda thinks, thank you very much, Nico Hülkenberg, because you slowing down just helped me in my scrap with Zhou Guanyu. But Zhou Guanyu gets some really good traction, heading up towards turn 4 now, and then has to concede as Yuki Tsunoda goes around the outside, and Nico Hülkenberg might be under a bit of threat from the AlphaTauri. This is a brilliant scrap between these three.
It is, isn't it? The German, the Chinaman, the man from Japan, the man from Finland is not too far away from them either. It's all going on back there. Very cosmopolitan race.
Absolutely. But as Esteban Ocon came out, that was so important for him to stay ahead of this three-way fight. Meanwhile, Lewis Hamilton has now got under the 1 second margin behind Carlos Sainz. Mercedes might have been thinking of the overcut. Hamilton here might be thinking of the overtake as Lance Stroll comes into the pits to get rid of his soft compound tyres. And we can see the Aston Martin from above, and the synchronised high-performance tyre changing ballet that is going on. A 2.6 second stop was rather nice too. But now he's going to come back out and feed back out into this race. He wants to stay ahead of Esteban Ocon. They are trying to, react to Ocon. And Stroll does stay ahead of Ocon as Nico Hülkenberg concedes a place to Yuki Tsunoda, and this three-way fight continues on for another lap.
Yeah, Tsunoda looks fast at the moment, very fast. He could almost pick any line he wanted when he was in that squabble on the previous lap.
So Ocon, by stopping, forced Aston Martin to stop Lance Stroll, because what they didn't want was to lose a place with the undercut. Stop before your rival, get the fresh tyres and get the performance advantage. And that was a cool moment for him. Now, Ferrari are running out into the pit lane.
Now taking for medium and Carlos box for medium.
Well, Carlos Sainz, I think, responded to that and said, why are you pitting me? Well, Hamilton was right behind him, was closing in on him, as there goes Lance Stroll on the Williams of Logan Sargent. Sainz has come in and out once again, as you can see. A 2.9 second stop, so a little bit slower for him. Fernando Alonso moves into 4th, Perez moves into 5th.
Okay.
Carlos Sainz asking why. Here comes Charles Leclerc. Through goes Pierre Gasly. Charles Leclerc now goes ahead of his teammate Carlos Sainz. Leclerc hasn't stopped yet, Sainz has.
Yeah, Leclerc needs to jump very quickly out of the way here and make this work for Sainz against Hamilton. Hamilton's been on the radio reporting the balance feels really good. The front and rear of the car is sliding in unison, and in a way I like and can control.
How long is this battle going to go on for? Zhou Guanyu has now got himself ahead of Nico Hülkenberg. That Haas over one lap seems absolutely electric in the hands of Hülkenberg.
That is still really good, mate. Okay, let's keep it that way. Pace is looking really good, Lewis.
But in the race, once again, it's starting to drop backwards just a little bit. He's suffering with his tyres, whilst Lewis Hamilton the same. Fine. I'm good on it for the moment. See the replay. Zhou Guanyu managed to get himself past the Haas and Nico Hulkenberg. He tried to defend Martin, but there wasn't really much point.
And now it says it's raining at the track, but
defense,
I guarantee that's not true.
Joe Blaney, driver of car number 24, celebrating his 24th birthday this week. Happy birthday to him. Charles Leclerc, meanwhile, moves over for his teammate and is then told to pit. The Ferrari crew are waiting for him. A hard compound tyre stopping on lap 17.
They obviously don't think they've got the pace, so he's now going to go through, because obviously Charles missed a lot of qualifying, and certainly Q3, he's got a lot of soft compound tyres, and because you can overtake more easily here, they thought you could, and we're very much seeing evidence of that in the race, Crofty. Overtaking is easier with this track layout, so just keep pounding in the laps on the grippiest tyres you've got.
Let's just head to Sky Race Control as well. Anthony Davidson, you're watching the battle, we're watching the battle between Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz. Sainz pitted. What are they saying on the team radio to both drivers?
So they've come onto the radio to say to Sainz, look, if Hamilton pits now, it will be neck and neck down the main straight. So I'm guessing they're just going to leave Hamilton out there. He's happy with the car. It's flying on those soft tyres still. It's all going well. So I think he'll be coming at Sainz much later on in the race, but with much fresher tyres as they elongate this stint.
Do we think this could be, though, a difference between a two-stop and a three-stop, with Ferrari maybe going for a three-stop, Mercedes happy just to do a two-stop with Lewis?
They're stretching it out, but what you don't want to do here is run out of tyres in the last 10 laps, otherwise you'll be absolutely nowhere. You'll be looking extremely good for 3/4 of the race, and then go home with your pockets empty.
Message to the team principal Andrea Stella, who is saying to his crew at McLaren, be on the right strategy, don't run out of tyres towards the end. Piastri then stopping and will come out into this race behind, I think, Nick de Vries, who's just the tail end of this particular scrap. De Vries currently behind Kevin Magnussen. Piastri does slot in on the hard tyres to 15.
So Hulkenberg's fastest of anybody, but I think that tells you that some of the
is this the amount of pit stops they've had?
Faster cars.
I'm pretty sure that's what that means. If that's true, then George Russell's going to take the lead.
Will just be there are 4 right-hand corners there that are over 150 miles an hour.
And Alonso will likely be in second.
If you just take it a little bit easy through those, take a lot of energy out of your tyre on the left-hand side. It's like an oval, really. All the fast corners are right-handers.
Last couple of laps, Lewis Hamilton has been 10th of a second faster than Max Verstappen. It's made little or no difference to the gap that Verstappen's got. It's about 8 seconds.
A lot more pace in these tyres. Need to look forward, not behind.
But also they'll probably, they'll definitely have to box again though, so.
Take the sides on the medium, Gasly on the soft. But I wonder if that message from George Russell there backs up a little bit.
Maybe they're hoping that it rains.
For some drivers, holding on quite nicely.
I think what the message is, as we've spotted during the race, is they've had conversations about who they're racing, who they can catch, who they've got to keep behind them, Perez, Alonso, whatever. The message is, we've actually got a great race car here, and let's hang on. We almost need to reset here and think about just how far we can get in this race.
Piastri gets past De Vries, moves himself up in the 14th after his pit stop. Next one up the road is Kevin Magnussen, whose teammate still has the fastest lap of this race so far. Verstappen's just crossed the line in a 120.0. Lewis Hamilton will be next to cross the line in a 120.3. So for a couple of laps, Verstappen had lost a bit of pace, and he's just made it all up in one lap. I was wondering if the softs were performing a little better than the mediums at this moment. Maybe not. There's a little dart there, wasn't it, from Nick de Vries? But Oscar Piastri was very soon aware of that. Aston Martin out for a car. Stroll had already pitted. So this one's Fernando Alonso. Sainz goes through, Stroll goes through, Ocon goes through, and Fernando Alonso should come out behind Joe Blaney, I would imagine.
They all have to scrabble out of the way, don't they? In the last 10th of a second or something. It's beautifully choreographed and slightly scary.
Gasly with a 4-second stationary time. That was a little bit slow for him. Alonso comes back out onto the track then in 10th place. And there, round the outside of Pierre Gasly, goes the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. That could be a key move for Charles Leclerc. Try and get past the Alpine, which might be a more stubborn obstacle than some that Leclerc is now racing against. Mainly because the Alpine's got a bit more pace down the straight than some of the others. Leclerc, of course, who's come in on a hard tyre to start with, coming down to switch 2 softs. So lap 21 out of 66. We're approaching third race distance here. And Verstappen a long way out in front.
You don't think one stop is possible? Tyres are holding quite well at the moment.
Alright, so Alonso had boxed.
I think we need to stay out. Your choice. The tyres are good. I'm improving the lap time.
George Russell is matching his teammate at the moment. Thinks I could save 22 seconds of my overall race time here by not doing another pit stop. I don't need to. Alonso gets past Joe Guanyu up at the moment.
But also, you could soon gain 20 seconds back on a pit stop with a fresh set of tyres. So what they look like they've got to think about with Mercedes now is Sergio Perez. That's really what they're thinking about, because they appear to have the Sainz as well, but they appear to have the Aston Martins pretty well covered in that respect, and in terms of raw pace. So it's quite interesting, but they'll know on the pit wall, and back at the factory, of course.
This is Pierre Gasly's pit stop. I said he was staying quite a long time. The issue, front right tyre was the issue. That's what kept it in the garage and in the pit box a little bit longer than he would have wanted. This is Charles Leclerc. Joe Guanyu. Let's head down to the Mercedes garage. I'm watching this race with keen interest, I'm sure. Their Chief Communications Director, Bradley Lord, who's our man with the team in the know here. George Russell looking at a one-stop strategy potentially. Is the degradation on the tyres, Bradley, that much lower than you were thinking?
It's definitely lower than we're thinking, and soft tyres holding up pretty well at the moment. Both drivers across the year reporting the tyres feeling good. So keeping on pushing on for the moment, and then we've still got all options open.
Absolutely.
What do you think that is, Bradley? What's changed? Because it seems like your drivers are pleasantly surprised as well.
I think 31 degrees track temperature's probably got quite a lot to do with it, Martin. So we know we were long running in the 40s on Friday, and obviously it's a chunk cooler today, so that will certainly help with those tyres.
But obviously you want to do some overtaking, you want to be a little less dragging down the straights, Bradley, but if you set the car up with a bit more wing to protect, particularly the rear tyres through some of the middle parts of the track and the faster corners.
Yeah, both drivers preferred a slightly higher wing level to the lower one Lewis ran on Friday, so that's looking after the tyres well and just allowing them to hold on through 13 and 14, and then the DRS obviously does its stuff down the main straight. So thus far it seems like we've found a decent compromise, but let's see how it plays out. We're still only at 1/3 distance.
Yeah, there's a lot happened. There's a lot going on between now and the checkered flag. Bradley, thanks ever so much for joining us. Pierre Gasly, by the way, we're looking at him at the moment as the fastest man on the track. Now, just stopped and is catching up on Nick De Vries. It's got a bit of many a Spanish Grand Prix, Martin, but there was little or no chance of any overtaking whatsoever. That is not the way it is going, not now and not last year either. This is turning into a tiny little race. Behind Max Verstappen, who's still got that what is now a 10-second advantage over Lewis Hamilton.
As you said a while ago, Leclerc made an important move on Gasly. You did, didn't you?
Yeah.
Sure. Because Gasly's now back ahead.
Radar says it's raining at the track right now, but it's not, so.
Charles Leclerc managing the soft tyres a little bit. Yeah, absolutely superb there from Pierre Gasly as well. He's got past Nick De Vries. I don't think we saw the move on Charles Leclerc. He's absolutely stomping through the field here. He's pushing, he's being aggressive. No chance of any tyre management for Pierre Gasly at the moment. Just watch this. Fantastic commitment down into turn 1. And De Vries thought for 1 second, I fancy a go at Kevin Magnussen here. And then had to realise that he was going to concede the position.
Yeah, you have to put a lot of trust on the driver on the inside to not going to snatch a brake, and you don't want to drive across the front of their car just as they're on the limit of the braking grip either, because they'll lose grip and run into you. So you really almost got to go wide and then squeeze back in and force them off the throttle. If if you just slash straight in front of them, then you'll take the air off their front wing.
Another lap. See another Gasly overtake. I don't know about you, Martin, but I think it's coming. David Magnussen will be the next victim to get his pocket picked down the main straight. It's not even going to happen into turn one. Gasly, even before he thought about the braking zone, was past that Haas and up into 13th place.
I wonder if Leclerc's still struggling with handling issues, because I thought that Ferrari in his hands on those tyres would just take off down the road, and it hasn't.
We complained about it yesterday, qualifying trouble with the rears, as Lewis Hamilton is going to get pulled in by the Mercedes team. So they changed the rear end of that Ferrari overnight. Well, they sent the original parts all the way back to Maranello for some analysis. They haven't completed that analysis yet, so they're still not quite sure what was wrong yesterday. Here is Lewis Hamilton into the pits. His teammate George Russell continues on his way. Sergio Perez continues on his way. And here comes Carlos Sainz down the main straight. This could be about 2 seconds maybe behind Carlos Sainz. There goes the Ferrari, and there goes Lewis Hamilton out of his pit box. And I reckon it's at least 2 seconds difference between Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton. I chuckle because Anthony Davidson was telling me that in my ears. It will be about 2 seconds the difference. And I'll give you all the credit for that one.
I might have been listening to Sainz's engineer. I'm not that smart, Copley.
Just for once, I thought we found the clever juice for it. So Gasly continues then down the straight. Here comes Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc is behind Nick de Vries. Charles Leclerc is making no impression down that straight whatsoever on de Vries, which rather seems to me that he's not coming off that final corner with a full commitment that he would want to do to try and get an overtake done. So there's either...
TV's leaderboard says that Russell's in second. Mine says that Hamilton's in second. Okay, there we go.
Before there was Hamilton. Playing the overtake. Then you go around the outside, pinch them in, cut their route off to the second apex. Very nicely done.
Here it comes.
They're giving him plenty of right hand lock with the grease there.
Into the pits came Lewis Hamilton, into the pits just now came George Russell, and there is Sainz and Hamilton making their way down towards turn one. Lance Stroll will be the next car. Now Russell and Ocon, this is going to be the fight now, as Russell on the inside is ahead by a few car lengths of the Alpine. They're both on the medium compound tyre, but Russell's got a bit of defending to do now to try and keep Ocon behind him. Esteban Ocon, podium of course in Monaco last week, his third career podium. Here comes Charles Leclerc, this time does get the move made on Nick de Vries and up into 14th. And Red Bull are getting ready for a pit stop for Max Verstappen, who could quite honestly open a can of the sponsor's product, take a large big swig, ask everyone if they're having a very nice pleasant Sunday afternoon, and still come back out way in the lead of this race.
Alright, so Verstappen just pit. He switched to mediums. I think he switched to hard. So yeah, he'll be good for the end of the race. Could be a bit risky though, because it could rain.
Approaching half distance, he was just pacing himself out front as he wished. You have to assume he could easily get these tyres to the finish as well, should they choose to do so. I think they will have a window to come in anyway. They'll have such an advantage. They'll come in, put some fresh tyres on and get their World Championship point for the fastest lap. It's currently with Gasly the fastest lap, but not the point. He's got to be in the top 10.
I was going to say, you can easily run this, build up a pit stop advantage, and a 2 seconds tyre change would be rather nice for him. They put on a set of softs and they'll get that point, as you say. This is Nico Hulkenberg into the pits. Choreographed on the way.
There was a rare jack change in a hurry for some reason.
By the way, Verstappen picks and retains the lead. He led the Monaco Grand Prix from start to finish for the time in his career that he's managed to do that. His Monaco victory margin, by the way, was 27.9 seconds. I mentioned it's the largest winning gap since Lewis Hamilton won Sochi in 2021. Verstappen, the man who's led the championship continuously since he won the Spanish Grand Prix in 2022.
Rain at turn 5.
Rain.
It's out of the blue. In fact, it's not blue. It's out of the grey, isn't it? But George Russell as
We're going to put a set of dry tyres on Sergio Perez.
Oh, that's stupid.
His car. And they pitted him a lap too early if there is rain starting to fall.
and that rain might be new news to the Red Bull team. But Russell is catching Stroll hand over fist.
And Lewis Hamilton was catching Carlos Sainz, and he's got him. Second now for Lewis Hamilton. He is ahead of Carlos Sainz. George Russell, fastest man on the track currently, and he is catching and past Lance Stroll.
There we go.
This is Hamilton down into turn one. Thank you very much, he said. Came out of the pits, 2 seconds behind. Well, fresher tyres has got the Ferrari, and whilst all that was happening, confirmation George Russell is ahead of Lance Stroll. So Verstappen leads by 11 seconds from Hamilton. Perez, after pitting, comes out, is now in 9th. But turn 5, that long left-hand hairpin, George Russell says it's starting to break.
The gap Hamilton's already pulled on Sainz after that overtake. So it's now absolutely clear. It's the 2 Red Bulls and the 2 Mercedes that are comfortably the fastest race cars.
But what might not be clear is the intensity of the rain, if it is going to come and cause any issues to the team so far. You can just see Christian Horner with his palm outstretched as he sat on the pit wall to see if there's any rain coming. I would imagine turn 5, huge amount of distance between turn 5 and where the pit wall will be situated.
I'd say that the Mercedes looked a bit of a handful on Friday when I was on the track talking to you. But whatever they did, they didn't really get a chance to try it too much on Saturday morning. But they really calmed that car down with its new side pods and front suspension geometry, and I'm sure 25 other pieces as well.
Don't forget, this is the first time they've really had a chance to see what the new upgrades, the new concept car has to offer. Because Monaco doesn't really give you that chance to show the car in all its glory. Red Bull came in and said this is a track that's going to suit the characteristics of our car absolutely beautifully. Mercedes didn't know that. They'll be very happy, I think, with the pace they're showing so far. George Russell, by the way, lost that half a second faster than Max Verstappen, about 20 seconds down on it. But Verstappen on the hard tyre, Russell on the medium, he's got some decent pace there.
So we've already told him, or we'll be telling Max, stay off those serrated curbs. That punishes the transmission, can put a frequency through the suspension as well, and just keep it easy out front. But just as they had last week with Fernando Alonso on the hard compound tyres, they had somebody in their mirrors, did Red Bull, to keep them on their toes, and now they've got Hamilton in their mirrors.
Alonso making little or no impression on the soft compound tyre as it stands currently. His teammate Lance Stroll is losing pace also on the soft compound tyre. They're approaching half race distance, and Max Verstappen turning for a 3rd career Grand Slam win, where you lead every lap and you take the fastest lap too. That's because the softs on at the end of this race. Mercedes have got a very nice race pace, looking at taking second place in the Constructors' Championship away from Aston Martin with the way this race is going. And I say Alonso's making little or no impression. He's now got Sergio Perez to try and defend against.
This is easily Alonso's weakest race of the year, isn't it? He's always been going forward during the Grand Prix, but for some reason, we know he had a difficult qualifying, but he's not had great pace in this race either. So for whatever reason, the car's just not very easy.
Came here talking about 33, didn't we? The 33rd win for Fernando Alonso. At the moment, all the threes are a 30-second gap to Max Verstappen and a 3-second gap to Yuki Tsunoda ahead of him. That's your 33.
This is what how easily we can follow him through there. It's almost like courting, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
In terms of being in Perez's cockpit, and this will be taking candy from a baby.
Yeah, the Aston Martin not performing the way Fernando Alonso expected. Sergio Perez didn't perform qualifying the way he expected, but he's moving himself back up the grid again now. Is currently running in 8th place. By the way, Aston Martin saying...
I hope they showed a cool-down room this week. They didn't show it last week in Monaco.
So much to make running repairs all the way through Q3. And by the end of Q3, it was about 0.4 of a second they were losing in time, which was half the deficit that they had at the start of the qualifying session. So about 0.8 of a second a lap worth of damage.
Yeah, and there were about 8 drivers who thought they should have been on the front row yesterday. After Perez's problem. But it hasn't translated today. Lance Stroll solidly up in 5th. Fernando down in 8th at the moment, but we'll see what the second half of the race brings for him.
Yuki Tsunoda running a good race on the hard side for AlphaTauri.
Is anyone else report in the rain? I think it's sweat from the inside of my helmet.
So it sounds like it's just you.
It sounds like it's just you.
I suspect it might be the sweat.
Well, keep it cool, George. Keep it cool. You ever had that where you think, oh, it's raining, and you think, oh, actually, no, there's a sweat from my forehead?
I had where we had some incredible carbon brakes where I pulled an eye drop out of the corner of my eye to the back of my visor. But yeah, you do obviously a little sweat comes down the side of your face, but it would be cologne, George, wouldn't it, or something like that? No, George with sweat. George looks sort of immaculate somehow, doesn't he?
Does just that. DRS for Pierre Gasly at the moment. He's behind Oscar Piastri. He'll get that DRS in front in about 4 quarters time. He approaches turn 9. Meanwhile, going through turn 9. This is Carlos Sainz. Behind him, George Russell. The last lap, George Russell was a second faster than Carlos Sainz. Continuing to close in on him as it stands currently. It's the battle for 3rd place. Striking distance, 2 laps.
Yeah, and by getting those soft tyres 10 laps further into the race, they've brought the Mercedes very much into play against what is the lone Ferrari in this race.
Can Ferrari rescue that? What can they do with strategy between now and the end of the race, we wonder? And they've had a couple of pit stops for Nico Hülkenberg. He's on slightly fresher tyres than Alex Albon, and Alex Albon saw him coming. Didn't make it too cold for Nico Hülkenberg to get past, but just gave him a reminder to summer for that overtake. I said Yuki Tsunoda's having a good race. He is. He has just been caught by Sergio Perez, as you can see there. Perez now on into 7th. And by the end of this race, Sergio Perez will be right in the battle for the podium position.
He would be, could be. You just know Verstappen would be. And I think if Sergio works some of his magic, he could be up there as well. But he's going to have to catch and pass a Mercedes, at least, and a Ferrari to do that. And at the moment, he is 11. He's 13 seconds behind Russell and 18 seconds behind Hamilton.
People listen to go a lot longer on these tyres, though. Maybe than the likes of Russell or Hamilton. There's a replay of the overtake. Perez on Tsunoda. Sergio's dad, Antonio, watching the back of the garage. I mentioned Piastri and Gasly was the closest battle, or a very close battle on the track. If you go to our back channel, that's what we can watch on board at the moment with the team radios too. You can get a bird's eye view of that.
And Perez is right behind Ocon down the main pit straight as well. There he is. If he passes him easily, then he can get it. He's got Stroll next up. Then he's got a lovely clear space ahead of him for Sergio Perez, where he can get after George Russell. So his race is beginning to come alive as we move into the second half.
Spent some time with Sergio Perez last night, whilst obviously disappointed with the way qualifying went. He did not look like a man for which the weekend was all over and there was no hope of a rescue. He rather does need a rescue, especially after Monaco, which was not the greatest race he's ever competed in terms of reward for him. But he's certainly proving that whilst qualifying is a bit of a hiccup, it can be salvaged during the race here today. But he's got a few more places to make up yet before he can go home Saturday.
Yeah, as soon as he gets some clear air, Sergio needs to be in the 180.
But it was 2 laps. George Russell to the right on the gearbox of Carlos Sainz. I think we're about to see it now. We saw the Ferrari there struggling out of the final corner while George Russell got an absolutely delightful blast.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to rain.
And he's had a delightful trip down the main straight. He's had an even more delightful outcome too. Because George Russell has just got past Carlos Sainz and moved himself up into the podium places. That was as sweet could be.
Yeah. He's He's really got the braking point spot on, hasn't he, down into turn 1 for the second time.
Soft tyres off, and hard tyres going on for Lance Stroll. I think they're going to want it, but they're on.
I think the Astros are a little bit like Leclerc's Ferrari. I don't think they really came alive on the soft compound tyre.
But I think they've just, to me, they've got rid of that soft tyre there, Martin, to give themselves an option now maybe to go to the end of this race on a two-stopper, and then just pick up a few places towards the end if others are having to stop 3 times. So keep their options open if the rain is going to come, and leave it till the very last moment before the inters might get needed.
Yeah, you just never want to mess around here. You can make so much time up on the track. It's not difficult to go out and be 2 seconds of that faster on better tyres at least. And within 10 laps, you've won your pit stop lap again.
Yeah. Max Verstappen started on pole. Alongside him on the front row was Carlos Sainz. Third on the grid was Lando Norris. Lando Norris got into a bit of trouble right at the start, made contact with Lewis Hamilton, had to come and change his front wing. Verstappen is closing on Norris about 5 corners time by the looks of it as we watch this move. George Russell and Carlos Sainz again. He was picking up the slipstream as best he can all the way down that straight. That was nice.
Solid work.
Just solid.
Just so.
It was pretty good.
Pretty good. George teasing his quick wall there. Halfway down, 2/3 of the way down the straight, I thought he wasn't going to be close enough. And Carlos was giving him the runaround, but within the regulation, and George just kept at it.
Into the pits came Esteban Ocon, comes out in front of Nico Hulkenberg. Meanwhile, Pierre Gasly has been on the radio complaining that he's getting stuck behind Oscar Piastri. He's been right behind him for a while.
Find the best way to beat Checo.
Ferrari knew that they would be racing Sergio Perez by the end of this race. Carlos Sainz is like, right, his pace at the moment is in the 118s, mine's in the 122s. Do something.
That's why he's a free Checo, which to hire Adrian Newey.
You see that awesome catch Aaron Judge made? No, I want to see that right now. I heard that he like slammed in some.
Stay with the team. Is he the most sought after man in Formula 1 after yourself?
After people saying, which driver would you most like to manage in Formula 1, I would say Adrian Newey. Because whatever the highest paid driver's worth, I think, well, Christian will hate me for saying this, and I'm not Adrian Newey's manager. Adrian Newey's got to be worth at least that much, if not more.
Worth every penny, Christian. There's Joe Granier. Pits. Through goes Leclerc and Reece and Stroll is now down in 11th place after pits. Tsunoda and Esteban Ocon, Nico Hulkenberg go through. So out into the fast lane comes Joe Granier, just ahead of his teammate Valtteri Bottas. And Logan Sargent pits. Lando Norris comes down the main straight, and Max Verstappen is just a few car lengths behind him now. That is a crushing reality of how badly the first half of this race has gone for Lando Norris. So now he started 2 places behind.
That's amazing.
He's about to be relaxed by the race leader, the Saint Man.
Yeah, it's easy from a bird's eye view, isn't it? But Lando had to go over, pick up the slipstream of Max down there and close.
Slammed into the fence, yeah, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, he'll learn from that. And move on, but that unfortunately then with the concertina effect on the turn 2 apex caught him out. So it's really sad.
Gap out in front, 15 seconds between Verstappen and Hamilton, who finished 1-2 in 34 previous races in Formula 1. It's more than any other combination. Hamilton's won 20 of them, Verstappen's won 14 of them, and we're on at the moment for a 35th.
Albon Magnussen behind. Yeah, slow them down. Thank you.
Will slow them down to help his teammate as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's a particularly advisable radio call for the FIA to hear. But anyway, I think what he means is, well, he means he'll slow them down. It'll be interesting how he's managed to do that.
Well, he slows them down by defending into turn 1 for this particular one. It wasn't much of a defense. It didn't need to be much of a defense.
Do you like that Kenley Jansen is in Boston? I actually do. He has been pretty good, but it just seems like he's a curse every time that I watch a game. Like last night, he like blew it.
As a way of keeping
There was a few weeks ago where he blew it against St. Louis.
Experienced man Valtteri Bottas, his 207th start in Formula One, and moves up the all-time list above Nico Rosberg. Willis, you can hear from him after the race down the paddock with Massey and with Naomi. Hamilton just maintaining at the moment his 15 and a bit second gap to Max Verstappen. The Mercedes team telling him just to hold position, don't push too much.
Dodgers fans didn't like Kenley. I don't understand that. Kenley Jansen was so good for the Dodgers. Like, they shit on him so much. It was so unfair. Like, some of the shit that I saw him get, because he was so good for them. He might have had some bad games, but like he really was really good.
Once again, we're starting to see a few two-stoppers currently, as this time Kevin Magnussen does get past Valtteri Bottas, and Bottas had to concede and make way down the straights. Norris has been lapped. We haven't seen it yet. Sorry about those Norris fans. Max Verstappen has now lapped you, and will be lapping Kevin Magnussen and Valtteri Bottas very soon.
Well, Max Verstappen's obviously had a little adventure down at turn 5, because he's run wide through the exit, and he got his first warning for track limits.
Getting on a couple of warnings, and then black and white flag, and then penalties. It continues onwards. This was Esteban Ocon, and his move on Nick de Vries.
So that noise you can hear, obviously, that sounds like a little bolts in a biscuit tin towards the end of the straight, is as the aerodynamics are just pushing the car down and down and down against its suspension tyre sidewalls. That is where it starts to skim the track.
Piastri and Gasly have been very close to each other and a bit of a fight for quite some laps now. Gasly was told to box, sadly then, so was Oscar Piastri at the same time. Charles Leclerc goes through and up into 7th place. Stroll and Ocon and Tsunoda follow on. Hulkenberg and Joe too, as Piastri comes out still ahead of Pierre Gasly, and both would like to be ahead, I'm sure, of Kevin Magnussen, and they are doing so. The car behind Kevin Magnussen is your race leader, Max Verstappen, who completes lap 40 of this race with a 15.5-second lead over Lewis Hamilton. There goes Lando Norris. At the moment, has got De Vries and Bottas and Albon behind him, Albon and Sargent behind him. Bottas now pits once again. So there's a few undercuts being played in the lower reaches. As Bottas comes out, so Mercedes and George Russell going past and lapping him. Russell in 3rd place. But those in the top 6 at the moment have only stopped the once. Charles Leclerc has stopped the once too. The spread is now getting quite large, 45 seconds between Verstappen and Alonso, who's finally starting to lap in the 1:19.
He's much happier on the harder compound tyre, isn't he? It's Fernando Alonso. There's been a bit of confusion. It says he's on the soft tyres there, but I thought we saw hard tyres go on in the pit stop for Alonso when we saw that stop recently for him. I'll keep an eye on it, just wait until we see him. It says he's on the soft, because initially it looks like Aston went soft for their
I'm sure it was the hards.
yeah.
De Vries and Norris down the main straight into turn 1. Nick De Vries in 16th place. Lando Norris thought about a little move, but nothing doing for the time being. As out into the pit lane with a set of hard compound tyres comes the Ferrari crew and waiting for Carlos Sainz, who I think has been waiting to get rid of these mediums for quite some time, Martin.
He has, and he was calling in, wasn't he? Keep me ahead of Perez. So this is their plan.
Alonso is definitely on the soft, so I've just seen him come past our commentary box. There it is now.
So soft then for Alonso, which means he's got a pit again. So that's two different compounds.
As out comes Charles Leclerc, into the pits comes Charles Leclerc, and out comes Carlos Sainz. They're double stacking, but they've got plenty of time to do it down in Ferrari. There's a set of hard tyres that go on Leclerc's Ferrari.
He's going to feed back in just ahead of Piastri, or around Piastri. Piastri's he's long gone. Gasly, and
it's just been lapped by Max Verstappen. Behind them comes this particular battle. De Vries and Magnussen. De Vries ahead of Magnussen, who really has to back out into turn one. Couldn't quite get the overtake done, and just has to stamp on the brakes a little bit harder.
So that's down to 14 for Leclerc then. He's gone nowhere, has he, through qualifying when the race? Something is not right with that car.
This is now, right, we'll run into the end and just hope that something happens to propel them up the order. But Ferrari was certainly thinking points were possible today. But the trouble is they've had to come into this race not understanding what the issue was yesterday, because they've had no time to really study it.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't find anything broken or something, anything obvious on it, so they just replaced everything.
Thoughts on this time?
Oh, not amazing. So let's see a few more laps. I struggle a lot with like under braking. The front is overheating.
To back off a little bit. Slow his pace down a touch. Not coming for another set of tyres. Through goes Joe Guan Yu on Nico Hulkenberg, and up into the points once again goes Joe Guan Yu. From 10th downwards, the places all seem to be changing lap after lap. They say that. Lando Norris gets past Kevin Magnussen, because Magnussen is headed into the pit lane. Max Verstappen's tyres starting to overheat a little bit now, so maybe struggling on the hard tyre.
Sounds like you absolutely won't go to the end, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, could Mercedes go to the end, save themselves a pit stop, and might that bring them into this race? Is that our hope at the moment of getting a battle for the lead?
Would they have enough tyre left at the end of the race on the Mercedes? They bit in 24 for Lewis Hamilton and lap 25 for George Russell. But I think the Red Bull's got so much advantage in speed and gap that I think they've got them covered. But
what I would say is Sergio Perez might force his way into that battle too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but because they've got a 16-second advantage over Hamilton and 26 seconds over Russell, Red Bull have the luxury of reacting leisurely to anything Mercedes do, and this is that way.
Bradley Law, Chief Communications Director down at Mercedes. A lot of questions for you here, Bradley. Let's start off with the weather radar, because it does look a bit gloomy overhead. Are you seeing any rain between now and the checkered flag?
We don't think so at the moment, David, but obviously need to stay reactive and alert to anything that may pop up. But generally rain's been fizzling out as it approaches the circuit rather than the opposite.
Just George's sweat then, giving him the issues there.
Just George's sweat.
Who's your race with at the moment? Lewis Hamilton. Is there a race with Max Verstappen out there? Or is there a defence for both Lewis and George with Sergio Perez coming at them?
I think at the minute they're pulling the gap to Perez, so we've got track position on him at the moment, and both guys seem to have a race tyre. Lewis, obviously, Max is a long way up the road, but they're both just pushing on, but holding their tyres instead of good condition.
George was clearly disappointed in the lack of enthusiasm for his overtake down into turn one there. Have you put a pit board out that says you are absolutely awesome, we love you, or anything like that?
I think he knows Marcus is a pretty understated guy, so just a little bit of banter between the pair of them, good signals.
As into the pits comes Fernando Alonso for what is his second stop in this race. Back out behind Joe Guan Yu, thank you Bradley. Behind Fernando Alonso, Piastri and Gasly. 10th place for Fernando Alonso. Not where he thought he'd be running with 20 laps to go in this race. Max Verstappen's had another lap deleted, exceeding track limits, same turn 5.
Yeah. So that'll be on the exit, I'm pretty sure, where you can wander across the line there, but one more of those and they'll be getting a black and white flag for driving standards.
George Russell next to pit. Soft tyres to the end of the race for George Russell, who earlier in the race was saying the softs were behaving absolutely beautifully for him, and wanted to stay out that little bit longer.
And the side scores on the hard tyres out there, and Russell well ahead of him on the track, well ahead of him.
Back out into the race, George Russell ahead of Carlos Sainz. His challenge has faded somewhat in this race.
Max, that's your second warning for track limits. First one was turn 9, this one was turn 5.
What?
What?
Track limits, 2 warnings.
They both turn 5 actually.
I don't think you realise
It's here, just there. Just there as you go through the exit there.
Anthony Davidson at Sky Race Control has been watching on board. How far wide has Max Verstappen been going?
Well, only just a little bit, Crofty, but it, you know, just a few millimetres is enough. What's going on down there? It has a slow stop. It's the rear jack not going on properly.
So yeah, the head jack problems throughout the race.
But yeah, so back to Verstappen. I did go on board because I saw that message flag up a few laps ago at turn 5, and I'd had a look to see if he had made a mistake, actually gone and had a trip through the gravel or something a bit more extreme. I didn't notice he had popped both wheels over the white line, but I didn't think much of it. I didn't realise that was what the message was about. So yeah, it seems that he's maybe doing it more than others. I checked Perez as well, and he was nowhere near to using as much track as Verstappen, just as another example. So Max using all the circuit. As quick as he is.
And a bit more. That gap, 16.3 seconds now. Behind Lewis Hamilton, who we ride on board with at the moment, is Sergio Perez. The reason Sergio Perez is behind Hamilton is because of that George Russell pit stop. Neymar Jr. Watches on intently in the viewing gallery. The gap between Perez and Russell, 13 and a bit seconds. So Perez does have to stop again. That gets wiped out with the pit stop.
Theoretically, he could go to the end, Perez. All 3 available tyre compounds, dry tyres that is, are represented in the top 4 on the track. Think about many different ways to approach this race. So Russell's now got to hunt down Perez, try to make him use his tyres up a little bit more.
Less than 20 laps to go here. No retirements, no yellow flags, no safety cars. A bit like Miami was. France and Austria in 2019, if you remember those. But this is the stage of the race, Martin, where the people we talk to before the race, those in the team, say it's all going to converge and it's all going to start to get that little bit more interesting and become a bit more apparent as exactly where the race is. Not the first necessarily, because Verstappen seems to have that covered, but for the other podium places.
I think Lewis increasingly looks like he's got second place covered, if I may say so, but I think the real race is Perez, Russell and Sainz now for the final place on the podium.
Here comes Fernando Alonso, who's racing against Zhou Guanyu, and he's winning that race quite easily. He's up into 9th place. Tsunoda next on the track. Alonso should have a pace to get on him in a couple of laps as Pierre Gasly finally gets past Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri's been keeping him at bay now for about 10 laps.
New fastest lap from George Russell as he sets about catching Perez if he can. He's on another cracking lap at the moment as well as George Russell, as long as he's not taking too much life out of those tyres.
It would be a huge achievement and a real boost for that Mercedes team to come here to Barcelona, a track that the teams all test at and they know so well.
Yuki, do you need stability or rotation?
Just take the drive. I cannot go faster than this. No limitation.
Tsunoda struggling more than we might think down there. Fernando Alonso is quickly on the back of him. I was just going to say, Mercedes, they made major changes to the car, major upgrades, so don't expect too much. But to come here, take the second and third, albeit helped a bit by Sergio Perez being out of position on the grid, would be a huge achievement for them. Has to be said, George Russell was out of position on the grid. He did a sterling job in the opening stages to set it all up as Fernando Alonso sets up a move on Yuki Tsunoda, makes that stick quite easily. Tsunoda starting to struggle, and Alonso up into 8th place from where he started the race.
Well into the point, so both Aston Martins up there, but they'll be disappointed with their ultimate race pace, or the longevity really of their race pace, more likely. Russell continues to punch in fastest laps of the Grand Prix in his pursuit of Perez, and he's dragging Carlos Sainz along with him quite nicely.
The gap then, Verstappen to Hamilton, 16 seconds. We're on lap 50 of this Spanish Grand Prix. Sergio Perez, about 19 seconds back in third.
Will we catch him at this rate? Can I count it up, but you need to tell me when?
Yeah, we will catch him very quickly at this rate.
And I was about to say, George Russell in fourth, but he's actually lapping over a second a lap faster currently than the man in front of him. Carlos Sainz, meanwhile, runs in fourth. And Stroll, Ocon, Alonso, Tsunoda, Jones, Gasly, Piastri, and Charles Leclerc, who's still out of the points and has made no impression really in this race whatsoever.
His car was a right-hand thought behind the McLaren of Piastri there, wasn't it? Yeah. So they've been lapped by Verstappen after his pit stop. So Piastri is the first runner that's been lapped.
It's been a very straightforward weekend for Esteban Ocon, but he was in the top 6 in qualifying for the second race running. He's got Fernando Alonso right on his tail as they're told to box Lewis Hamilton, and into the pits he comes at Mercedes.
I just think it's going to rain. Surely Red Bull will react to this just for security.
On the radio, they're saying no rain at all, but they are calling in Sergio Perez. I think they've realised the game would have been up. So better to put Perez on a fresh set of tyres, take that time penalty loss for another pit stop, and give him something to attack George Russell with towards the end of this race.
Yeah, so George Russell goes from being the hunter to the hunted.
So yeah, Lewis is now 39 seconds behind Max, so something would have to happen.
2-second stop for a Red Bull team who really have made quite the mastery of fast pit stops. Sainz goes through, and
just said his hard tires have no grip, just sliding everywhere.
Understood.
Yeah, he's in the 1 minute 19s now, whereas his rival was on the 18s. So.
Oh dear, that is defence and some by Esteban Ocon on Fernando Alonso, who was wise to it. And there is a bit of history between these two from when they were teammates. And that was elbows and some from Esteban Ocon. It looks a little bit aggressive, that, I have to admit, as Charles Leclerc goes past Oscar Piastri. And if you, Martin Brundle, were Fernando Alonso and you caught up with Esteban Ocon a little bit later tonight, what would you say?
I think he will say what he said when they were teammates on the radio quite often last year. Esteban Ocon is the loveliest young man. When a crash helmet goes on, he's going to switch behind his ear to get pressed out, and he becomes a bit of a monster. Well, here we go. No, that's too late. It's too late. Can't do that. You've got to place your car earlier than that.
Did he make 2 moves? Or was it just...
It's the second move moved him away,
yeah.
So it's just... You've really got to start your defence before the other driver's nose is getting up alongside your, very close to your. That was really touch and go. I'd have to see it from different angles to know whether he actually just broke the rules. But in any event, there's kind of a code of conduct out there as well, 200 miles an hour.
It looked a little bit unnecessary too, because the pace of the Aston Martin was that much better than the pace of the Alpine. And, well, if you kept Fernando behind him, he wasn't going to be behind him for long anyway.
Fernando's dropped him by 2 seconds in that lap alone.
So into the pits then comes our race leader, Max Verstappen. And he had
some Max pits.
in which to do this, as Lewis Hamilton a long,
assuming he switched to
softs.
softs.
Second place.
It was a no-brainer, wasn't it? Give him some grip and some options, especially if it does start to sprinkle with rain. You don't want to be on used hard tyres that have got very little tread depth. You want to be on some fresh boots that have got grippier rubber and plenty of it.
Comes out onto the racetrack then with those soft tyres. This will be another move towards the fastest lap of the race point for Max Verstappen, who had a healthy enough lead when he started this race, and is going to continue to grow that championship lead over his teammate Sergio Perez. It's 39 points when this race started, 1 point for every win for Max Verstappen in Formula 1 so far. Talking of Perez, here he is. Carlos Sainz is the Ferrari that was in front and is now behind. I dare say a bit of DRS to make that overtake stick, rather help Perez's pace there.
Yeah, a 1:16.6 fastest lap as well. So he is now 9 and 15 seconds behind the 2 Mercedes. So that's game on for Perez if he's got that kind of pace. He could get up there. He could certainly trouble George Russell's mirrors.
Yeah, he got brilliant slipstream, DRS, effective, wasted no time in making the overtake. Now, if he could be a second a lap faster on those soft tyres than Russell or Hamilton, like you say, game on could be very, very exciting towards the end of this race. It's coming soon. but what will be the podium places behind Max Verstappen? At the moment, Verstappen, after making his second pit stop, has 16.7 seconds in hand over Lewis Hamilton. The battles are elsewhere, this one included. Esteban Ocon, after his defence against Fernando Alonso, has now got Yuki Tsunoda, who sounds less than calm on the team radio when we hear from him, and Zhou Guanyu behind. Zhou Guanyu's last two race point scoring finishes have both come behind the safety car, by the way. I'm sure he'll have to fight this one to the end and try and make some overtakes down that straight. They've all got DRS, or the two have got DRS behind Esteban Ocon. Here they come, down into turn one. Is Yuki Tsunoda making the impression he wants? No, he hasn't quite got the pace to get past that Alpine. Meanwhile, Lando Norris has been in for another pit stop and has just set the fastest first sector. I wonder if he's on for a fastest lap. Second sector wasn't too bad either.
Unfortunately, the McLarens were a little bit one-lap wonders this weekend. They knew it. They were very open about that. They had just such a sweet spot in qualifying for their car. It hasn't worked out in the race at the moment for McLaren, sadly. Some interesting runners, aren't there? You know, and this is what's happening in qualifying now, because AlphaTauri and Haas and Alpine, because they're going so well, even if you're an absolute front runner and you make a mistake in qualifying, you're going to take some pain now.
7 different constructors in the top 7 in qualifying, which is kind of what we want to see here. Sergio Perez last lap was 0.8 of a second faster than George Russell. The gap now under 7.5 seconds as we head to Anthony Sky Race Control.
George Russell has been told on the radio, watch out for the last couple of laps because Perez is coming. He's going to catch us last few laps. Perez has been told, look after your tyres as much as you can so you can go on the attack towards the end of the race.
And not looking after tyres whatsoever, Zhou Guanyu just wants to attack Yuki Tsunoda into turn one, but nothing doing on this occasion. This is letting Esteban Ocon just get a little bit ahead of both the two Alfa males, isn't it? The AlphaTauri and the Alfa Romeo. So, last couple of laps, Sergio Perez on George Russell, who completed an 18-lap high-fuel run on soft tyres during the second practice session, more than any driver amongst the top teams, so he knows what it's like to put in a decent stint on these soft tyres.
Because the other thing that Red Bull will do is protect against the safety car in closing stages, such that they might lose all of their lead.
You saw my ass crack.
What a great service he's given to the world of Formula 1 over the years. Perez needs to be doing around about 1:17.5, I'm told, the 1:17.7 on the last lap. Might need to up his pace just a little bit. Back to him in a moment. Zhou Guanyu behind Yuki Tsunoda. Let's watch this battle again. DRS assisted, 13 miles an hour at top pace. Isn't going to be enough to take Zhou Guanyu round the outside. Owen has to back out of that as Tsunoda hung in there as long as he possibly could. And whilst the move looked to be on, for one brief moment there wasn't enough room for Zhou Guanyu to stay on the track, and that's why he had to back out.
Sniff of a double move there on the way down for Tsunoda. Let's see, there's one. He goes down on the outside, but the inside line's covered in a little.
You pushed me off, man.
A love tap.
Well, he didn't give him space, but was he entitled to?
Tsunoda had steering wheel well cranked in there.
And that's not helped Zhou Guanyu one iota, not just in that overtake, but also with Pierre Gasly right behind him. Gasly has made up some ground on that last lap. So Gasly trying to nick that final points position. Currently in 11th, you can see, but he's a lot closer to Zhou Guanyu after that little tussle, shall we call it, down at turn one. Let's move from there to the battle for the final podium place. Sergio Perez was a second faster than George Russell on lap 56 of this race. The gap has now come down to under 6 seconds. He's catching him. He's got a bit of DRS assistance with Valtteri Bottas in between himself and George Russell. That would help Martin to give him a bit of pace down the main straight potentially.
He's got to, you're right, he's got to clear the Alpha, but he'll get some DRS help. You do wonder if DRS should be limited to, I don't know, 100 seconds per race, or whatever the number comes up, so that it has to be used tactically rather than just as we want.
I was thinking to myself the other day, if DRS is an overtaking tool, why do we use it in qualifying? I'm still not quite sure what the answer is to that. And send it on the postcard, please.
So Perez will easily be able to see Russell now. You can see the frame as he's just 5.2 seconds down, takes another 0.8 of a second out of Russell's lead over him. That's the big tussle for the final step on the podium. Sainz, I think, is too far behind and not quite fast enough.
Is it a tussle with Russell, or is George being quite canny and saving his tyres a little bit for the time management to have enough to defend with in the closing stages? All will be revealed. It's been the best of afternoons, has it? Down at McLaren, where Stella watching on his lead driver on the grid, suffered a broken front wing. The opening corner, contact with Lewis Hamilton, failed to make any impression since that early pit stop. Meanwhile, his teammate Oscar Piastri is under pressure from Nick de Vries behind him. De Vries put in his best finish in Formula 1 in Monaco, but that 12th place is looking for 13th here, as Max Verstappen is shown a black and white flag for exceeding track limits. The black and white flag means that if you go over the line one more time and you exceed those track limits, you're going to start to get a penalty.
You get a 5-second penalty, and this time it was at turn 10. So Max is sort of out front, cruising away, but somehow he's edging the car over the line.
Now, a 5-second penalty here would not make a huge amount of difference. Max Verstappen would still win the race, but by a bit he has been exceeding those track limits through this race.
Okay, Max, that was a third stroke on track limits.
Where?
Turn 10. You've now been given the black and white flag. You are 18 seconds ahead of Hamilton. No risk required.
Stay off the curves. Don't need to go too far. You are driving for a Red Bull team that has led every lap of the last 2 races and is on for a hat-trick. Led every lap of this race today, and you've got 18 seconds in now.
See, this is the problem for Sergio, isn't it? Perez, you know, if he can't beat Verstappen, the mind of Verstappen across the garage from him, he's got to make sure he finishes second every time.
Yeah.
The last not to worry.
Vegas Golden Knights won Game 1 last night. That's pretty cool.
In case of rain or anything.
I hope they win.
Understood, mate.
Copy for that. Zero risk.
Yeah, understood, mate. Understood.
That's working as a team.
Yeah, so, yeah, exactly. Well, basically, he's closed within 1.3 seconds and says, I won't pass it.
It's like, I'm getting close to you so I can stay further ahead with the cars behind, but, you know, don't worry, don't stress, we need these points as a team.
Or is he saying, I'm taking no risk here, I'm still catching him. Let's see. They're 6th and 7th, I think they'll be disappointed with that. Yeah.
Absolutely. The stewards are looking, by the way, and that's Sonoda Joe Vanier incidents forcing another driver up the track.
Yeah, it was a bit edgy, that one. It was a bit too much.
George Russell has cleared the back markers that were Sergeant Bottas. Perez has cleared Bottas, but not Sergeant. And he has lost a little bit of time behind George Russell. Lost half a second on the previous lap. That's not helping him in his charge towards the podium.
What's my fastest lap?
Yours is a 17.3. Like I say, you've been given a black and white flag, so we cannot afford anything.
Yet to finish lower than second this season, Max Verstappen on his way to a win here. Behind Lewis Hamilton, this is the scrap between Kevin Magnussen and Lando Norris. It's for 17th place. Doesn't mean it's going to be any less keenly fought than it was for second or third place. Magnussen would dearly like to stay ahead, I'm sure, and test out his defensive skills, and Lando would like to have a bit of fun to end what has been a thoroughly dismal afternoon for him.
So Russell is just about hanging on, isn't he? Russell was quicker than Perez last time around, so...
on board here with Lando Norris, who for one brief moment did get ahead of Kevin Magnussen, who had DRS, as did Lando. And there's that brief moment that he did get ahead. The thing is, Magnussen's got the inside line. That was the end of that. Sadly for Lando, who has scored in the last 3 Spanish Grand Prix he's taken part in. Got his highest ever start here. He'll get his lowest finish.
Put in the fastest lap.
So Max has the fastest lap.
So
So I think that'll be a grand slam, right?
All out now, all out.
His discretion in combat, and Max just shows us how fast he could have gone, and he needed to.
So Sergio Perez just wants to.
Yep, pole position every lap of the race, wins the race and sets the fastest lap. So Max Verstappen is on pace for a grand slam right now.
George Russell and get some more points on the board before the checkered flag comes out. It's Red Bull, Mercedes currently. Perez, who started 11th on this grid, 1 place above George Russell, is on his way to finish 1 place behind him. Charles Leclerc is still in this race and isn't too far behind Pierre Gasly, who isn't too far behind Zhou Guanyu. And there's a potential for a point there, but 1 point only for Charles Leclerc in this race. There is Gasly. They're going through your screen now, and Leclerc right on his tail. There's Hamilton.
Hamilton just set the fastest sector 1 though.
Is trying to make his bid now. Fastest lap of the race.
Okay, now can you bring it home within the white lines? Thank you.
Yeah.
And Anthony Davidson, is Max Verstappen just not listening to his race engineer this afternoon?
Well, I mean, look, they should trust him as well that he can go for the fastest lap within the white lines. That's what he's paying the money for. And he seemed to be unaware that he was going over the white lines. He's taking extra care with that, but wanted the fastest lap. So I think it's fair enough to let him get on with it, and you have to trust him. But interestingly, onto the fight with Russell and Perez. Perez getting loads of encouragement on the radio. Come on, you know, everything you've got now. And on the flip side, Russell's being told that lift and coast that we were doing around turn 3 to protect the tyres.
So yeah, caution now and end the race.
Just go for it if you feel like you can find any
more
more
than
pace.
likely,
So
unless
this
they
is
red
really
flagged it.
bubbling up
But
nicely.
He was second here last year with Sergio Perez, his first Barcelona podium in 12 F1 visits. Add to that 4 visits in GP2, one of the feeder series as well. He would dearly love to have a second podium here today. Is there enough pace in his Red Bull car to get close enough to George Russell? He's going to have to pull out an almighty 3 laps, last 3 laps of this race, if he's going to do it. Meanwhile, Charles Leclerc is doing his best to try and get ahead of Pierre Gasly and get on the fringes of just the points. Lewis Hamilton was doing his best to try and get a fastest lap, ended up 3/10 down on Max Verstappen, who's done his best to go over the track limits as often as he can without getting a penalty, and has now been told to stay within the white lines because, quite frankly, Max, you're 20 seconds ahead, you don't need to take the risk.
I don't need to take the risk all through the race. I think he's just been edging over that line there. We've just seen, without knowing it, been reading the newspaper or something.
To ask him after this race, because what was going through his mind for most of it, because he
this is a pretty boring race, but
not in the slightest.
whatever.
Yeah, laps the McLaren of Oscar Piastri down in 13th place. He came near Max Verstappen with a real grin on his face, saying that this track is really going to suit our car. It will bring out all the strengths, and those strengths have been shown to the Max in this race so far. On board with Charles Leclerc. He's within DRS range of Pierre Gasly, so getting that extra pace, he needs a few more car lengths, I think, advantage to get past Pierre Gasly. And if he can, if he clear Gasly on this lap, maybe there's a last lap in it for Charles Leclerc to try and get past Zhou Guanyu, who currently is hanging on to that final points position.
Yeah, he's 3 seconds off the points now.
All right, so it looks like Max Verstappen is going to do the Grand Slam.
Inside, he looks to make a move into the head, but Gasly had him covered off. Sergio Perez
He is coming to the
lap,
final
and that
lap.
gap is now down to 3 seconds. Is it too little too late? He's got 2 more laps to try and do it. He was a second ahead of George Russell in terms of time on that last lap. He was a second and a half advantage.
Yeah, so George Russell was holding in on.
And then the entire race was boring. Max Verstappen led the whole thing.
To negotiate.
Nothing happened. He got a grand slam, which is cool though, which means he won the pole, led every lap, the fastest lap, and looks like he's going to win.
Flat to the floor as best he can to put some pressure on Pierre Gasly and get a really nice exit out of the final corner and go on the hunt for another position gained in this race. He started from the pit lane, he's now eyeing up 11th place, and you can see how he's gaining on Gasly there, but not gaining enough. Gasly's
final lap.
Covered off into turn 1. While all that's happening, Sergio Perez only a tenth of a second faster in the first sector than George Russell, but 4/10 faster in the middle sector. Needs at least another 7 or 8 tenths on this lap to try and get somewhere near to that Mercedes on the final lap of this race. Max Verstappen continues out on his own, going through turn 4 at the moment, and is nice and comfortable, but his teammates in a right old battle, isn't he?
So Perez should get a DRS on the back of Pele Magnussen's Haas, and presumably he'll let him through down into turn 1, but he hasn't. So Perez still behind the traffic.
As Charles Leclerc into the next corner tries to get Pierre Gasly, and in the distance, well, it's this man, Max Verstappen, lap 66, out of 66. Max Verstappen can see the Ferrari in the distance. He's a lap down.
Yeah, it's going to be
Nobody
Max.
has got close to Max Verstappen in terms of trying to get a win here.
Coming to the final corners.
Dutch Army rise to acclaim their hero. He has taken the fastest lap. He's taken 25 points for the win. It's max points for Max Verstappen.
And Max wins.
He wins.
Max wins the Spanish Grand Prix.
In the last 3 races, he just continues to go and grow at the top of this championship. The gap is going to be around 24 seconds by the time Lewis Hamilton crosses the line, but this has been a super performance for Lewis Hamilton and for Mercedes
Lewis
today.
in second.
And for the 35th time in Formula 1, it's Verstappen and Hamilton and a 1-2, and George Russell is going to
George
hold
in
on
third.
Sergio Perez to get third in this race. So Mercedes are back on the podium with 2 drivers, and that's a huge boost for a team that's had to dig deep to rebuild their car and rebuild their season.
Yeah, Mercedes will be a lot happier with the Aston Martin boys chasing each other home. Fernando waving to the crowd as he, I think he was actually sliding the car on purpose there, waving to the crowd. Stroll from Alonso, I'm saying 6 and 7.
And they'll drop behind Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship as a result. Perez finishes 4th, Sainz comes home to take 5th place. More disappointment for Ferrari. Ocon 8th, Tsunoda 9th, Joe Brand New finishes in 10th place. Charles Leclerc
Shakira.
get Pierre Gasly in the end. And behind him, Piastri, De Vries, Hulkenberg and Albon, Norris, Magnussen, Bottas and Sargent. Once again, no retirements.
Well controlled, Max. Another win.
Yeah, good race that. Again, very lovely result is.
Well done, Max. That was mega. Very well controlled, even though you went over the white lines a few times.
Yeah, just within the limit.
No, very well done. Very well controlled. Masterclass.
Yeah, really good weekend. So thank you very much to everyone.
He is now 53 points ahead of his teammate Sergio Perez over 2 race wins and 2 fastest lap moments.
I was trying to make that point a little earlier on that, problem for Sergio, we know he can drive brilliant races. We saw it in Singapore last year, Jeddah and Bahrain this year. But on the other days, he's got to finish second. He doesn't.
Great work, Lewis. What an awesome drive. Fantastic management there, mate. And awesome pace. So that's a P2, P3 for the team. Great result. See you back up there.
Mega job, guys. Mega job. Thank you so much for everyone.
Lewis Hamilton driver of the day. I did not vote this week. Usually I do, but I didn't this week.
Let's keep pushing. Mega job to George as well. Awesome drive.
When's the next F1 race? I think it's Canada.
That's 275th career points finish for Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, Canada on June 18th at 2 p.m. I think, isn't that the NASCAR off week? So I might actually stream that. That is the NASCAR off
It was
week.
a well-controlled drive.
So I might
It was
stream that.
a second place that you called it from a long way out, Martin. He didn't look like he was going to concede that.
No,
Where's IndyCar on that day?
The Mercedes just took off today. And you can see Aston was struggling, you can see Ferrari was struggling.
This man wasn't struggling.
Ooh, yeah.
His team was
June
struggling.
18th.
And that is now
Is back
wins a plenty
conflicts
for Red Bull, in this
IndyCar
season.
and
No one's ahead of them at the
F1
moment.
both at
And
the
the
same
margins
time.
seem to be getting bigger,
IndyCar's
bigger
at
and
1
bigger.
and then F1 starts at 2.
21
So I don't know which I'd watch.
Formula One.
Now got over 2,000
Yeah, Sonoma is
laps
next week.
in Formula One as well. He won here last year when he didn't have full use of DRS in the race. He didn't really need DRS today, except to try and help him lap the back markers. Sending out a signal and a message to the rest of the field as every race goes by. You know, Mercedes will celebrate this, but for a team that have been so successful in this hybrid era, they'll still look at it and say, yeah, we were 24 seconds behind the winner.
Yeah, they're a lot happier with their updates than Ferrari, their side pods. Lewis, just give me some side pods. The winner doing, he's made them work. Worked really well in Monaco as well, didn't he, for last weekend, but that's a very solid result for the team. Not a head scratching elsewhere. But, you know, I remember saying this, watching Michael Schumacher dominate, commentating on that, commentating on Lewis Hamilton dominating, and Sebastian Vettel dominating. And you've got to enjoy the excellence, you've got to enjoy the brilliance of it. I know it doesn't energise some of the races, but you're witnessing it. You're witnessing great sports.
Exactly.
Folk delivering incredible performances.
I got a bit of a withering look from Christian Horner when I jokingly said to him on Friday, you're going to win every race this season. Far too early to say that, far too early. But that's 8 races down. That's 8 victories for the team. Monaco is out the way.
Sergio Perez in 4th.
And you can't see it.
Yep, Max Verstappen fastest lap on lap 61 at 1:16.330, so that's a bonus point for him. And gets a grand slam.
So it's up to the others to catch them out. You know, they've got to. We're so dependent on Aston Martin keeping developing, and Mercedes and Ferrari getting their act together. Big up McLaren.
Big up race comes for Aston Martin in Canada.
Is Lewis really going to Ferrari? I didn't hear anything about that. Heard someone say he's going to Red Bull. I'm like, that's stupid.
Grabbed hold of the mic and is waiting to talk to Max Verstappen, to Lewis Hamilton, his former teammate, and to George Russell. Max is first to come over.
There's Max.
What an incredible performance from you once again today. Is this the most enjoyable time ever for you in your Formula One career?
I mean, it's a big pleasure, you know, to drive with a car like this. And I think, yeah, it showed again today. I mean, we have quite a lot of different tire strategies out there. I think for most of the race we're on the right one, but yeah, again, a win here, it's incredible.
Max, behind us, we just saw that great battle with Carlos Sainz into turn 1. Take us through that. Was that really on the edge?
I mean, I had the harder compound, of course. I knew the start was maybe going to be a bit tricky, and yeah, I mean, going around the outside in turn 1 is always quite difficult, but luckily nothing happened.
Are you happy to distance your main title rival in Perez?
Well, I mean, we had another strong weekend, and that's of course what I like to see from myself, from the team, and hopefully, you know, we can just keep that up throughout the year.
Thank you very much, Max.
There's Lewis.
The crowd is really cheering for you. That's nice to see you here in Spain. That seemed to be an awesome performance from you, right? Did it feel good?
Oh man, what an awesome crowd we have here, like every year. Gracias to everyone here in Barcelona. What a result for our team.
Lewis's 193rd career podium.
Today, so
it's insane.
Take my hat off
I think
to
that's
my team.
like what's
Big thank
second?
you.
I that has to be most, but
Continue
what's
to
second?
push and bring us a little bit closer to the Bulls. They're still a bit ahead, but we'll keep chasing them down. But this is an amazing result. Georgia.
Yeah, Michael Schumacher is at 155. That's second
On
place.
the radio there on the in-lap and everything. how far can you still go then? I mean, huge jump there from one race to the next now suddenly. You think you can still give them a run for their money perhaps a bit later on?
I think this is a little bit too quick in the moment, but we're working at it. We're working at it. So just one step at a time. And if we can get close by the end of the year, that would be awesome. But if not, next year.
And you're still flat out motivated, right? Like
Flat
pushing
out.
hard, huh?
Flat out. No lifting.
Good to see. I'll see if I can get a word with George. George, P3 for you after quite a difficult day yesterday. Are you surprised?
Crazy close to 200, yeah. I mean,
Surprised for sure. I
you
think,
can get it this year.
Yeah, kudos to the team for giving me a really great car.
I don't think he'll get it this year, but he could.
Race for us, starts from P12, coming all the way to P3. A sign of things to come hopefully for.
George Russell's 10th career
Does it
F1
actually
podium.
feel better to drive? Like, is it the best feeling you've had so far this year in the car?
Yeah, it definitely feels better, but it wasn't. You know, you're just putting in those lap times and you're comparing with the guys around you with the Aston and the Ferraris, and we're just quicker and quicker and quicker. So we know we brought some more downforce to the car. We know things were in a better window. So yeah, really pleased with the podium.
All right, well, congratulations to you, George, and congratulations to the team for such progress.
Gracias.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of thanks from George Russell to those back at Brackley and at Brixworth as Max Verstappen at the same time gives thanks to Christian Horner, Adrian Newey, to Helmut Marko.
If it is rubbish at my notes, it's not fantastic. He's a genius.
Genius with a pencil, not a hug. And the new podium here as well at the circuits, the Barcelona and Catalonia that we see last couple of years, including tremendous. That's a sign.
Are they going to show the cool down room?
This too, punching the air with delight as he crosses the line. And once again, the least surprising thing about today was that Max Verstappen won by 24 seconds. We have our chats, Martin, before the race, and there was not a single person at any other team saying, yeah, we're racing against Red Bull today.
That's true. Red Bull's got the peril down to the first corner, and it said safety cars, red flags, rain, whatever. But in a straightforward dry race, it was all about who was going to finish second.
Some of the fans there grabbing hold of the marker boards. You won't get that back on hand luggage. Should be flying back tonight, but let's have a little listen to the drivers.
What's that, George? You get on it? Huh? I am standing there tonight, so why not? No, I said no. Now, we have to. Okay. Actually, target the spray. Ready to go right? Spray them all. Are you ready to go right? Spray everywhere we can go. What happened here? Oh. You're looking like you're going to punch. Yeah, exactly. That's a bit of tension. Did you just pass everybody? Or was it yeah, past Fernando, Carlos, maybe Stroll, Ocon maybe? I don't know, can't really remember now. Did you undercut someone or overcut? No, it passed most on track and probably overcut. I thought it was raining at one point, but it was sweating in my hair over the visor.
Making conversation in the
Alright, so they'll make their way out to the podium in just a second. I always love the cool down
What he
room.
plans to do in Barcelona tonight. Just looking at the finishing order once again, and I rattled it off as the cars crossed the line. Joe Guan Yu made up an extra place, as did Pierre Gasly on the last lap, and Charles Leclerc, because Yuki Tsunoda obviously had something of a moment.
No, he had a penalty for driving expression, didn't he?
The 5-second penalty was added, which is
Alright, so there's George Russell out on the podium for third place.
Finish for Alpine.
Here comes Lewis Hamilton, our second place.
Podium, his first of the season, his first since Brazil, Sao Paulo last year, and what a weekend that was for him, winning, of course, at the track the year before. Lewis Hamilton.
All right, now coming out, the winner of the 2023 Spanish Grand Prix, Max Verstappen, onto the podium.
For Max Verstappen in Formula One. Heard this once or twice before. Dutch and the Austrian national anthems.
Max Verstappen.
Max Verstappen has that 50.
Alrighty, fuckers. I'm going to end this right here. I'll be live for the Cup race at 3:15. So I'll see y'all then. Fun times. Congrats to Max Verstappen. And thank y'all for